They said, assess the impact. The peso is the currency of the Philippines. Between 2013 and 2017, it depreciated against the US dollar and most other major currencies. Assess the impact of this that this depreciation may have had on firms involved in international trade in the Philippines. First, when we talk about depreciation of a country's currency, depreciation means, are you with me? Yes. Depreciation means a loss in value of a country's currency in the floating exchange market. Mm-hmm. A loss in value of a country's currency in the floating exchange market, not in the fixed. If it's the fixed, it devaluates. And I told you when we are having exchange rate as a topic, we talked about depreciation and devaluation. Yes. Depreciation represents floating exchange rate. Devaluation represents fixed exchange rate. Appreciation represents floating exchange rate. Revaluation represents fixed exchange rate. I think the point is clear there. Yeah. So that's about, now they say, what are the impacts of depreciation? There are positive impacts and negative impacts. So for the positives, if depreciation in the country's currency will bring about increase in exports. Mm-hmm. Why would there be increase in export? Because the export become cheaper. So that means the pesos, the Philippine currency, other currencies, less foreign currency would buy more of Philippine currencies, the pesos, which is an advantage for the Philippines because it increases their exports. Mm. Two, exporting firms will be highly competitive, bringing about increase in sales. For exporting firms that do exports, because we're talking about the impacts on firms. Mm-hmm. So firms that do exports will have an increase in their sales. Why? Because they become more internationally competitive. Mm-hmm. Two. And the third point I make here is about domestic firms. Mm-hmm. Firms that produce locally. And if they produce locally and they have to compete with foreign firms, it makes them to be more competitive. And that increases their revenue too. Yes. Then, what are the negatives? One, imports. Imports become expensive, meaning that more pesos must be needed to buy few dollars, which is not good. Two, firms that import may lose profitability. Firms that do more of imports, they will their the price of import will be high. As a result, they won't be making profit as they used to make. Yeah. As that's the second point, which is negative. And the third point for domestic firms. Domestic firms that do imports, like they rely on importation of raw materials, makes the price of raw materials to be expensive. As a result, they will be less competitive, which makes them to have a fall in revenue. So these are the positives and the negatives of depreciation in the exchange rate, in the floating exchange rate. Is it clear?